Greenland. The only reason we're in this position is because of the weakness of European leaders. And mark my words, Sir Keir Starmer is going to use this issue to distract from what a terrible job he's doing at home. Why is Greenland important? Well, its proximity to the North Pole provides the shortest flight path for intercontinental ballistic missiles between Russia and North America. It's essential for monitoring Russian, probably Chinese as well, nuclear sub-activity, also minerals and oil. Now, look, President Trump is pretty clear.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland.
Now, he's threatening to impose tariffs on any and all goods imported from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands and Finland until a deal is reached for the, quote, complete and total purchase of Greenland. He is also not ruling out taking Greenland by force. Well, here's what Sir Keir Starmer said about it today. Now, we've condensed this because it was a huge word salad and he seems to be sitting on the fence so hard that he's got splinters up his backside. But here we go.
The world has become markedly more turbulent in recent weeks. That is why I said the use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong. It is not the right way to resolve differences within an alliance. Such measures hurt British workers, British businesses, and the British economy. And that is why I've been so clear on this issue. A trade war is in no one's interest. And my job is always to act in the UK's national interest.
I mean, that was pretty rich, isn't it, acting in the national interest? But Nigel Farage says that Trump's tariffs will hurt us. He doesn't agree with the US on this, and he's going to go and have some strong words with the administration himself.
I would just say this. I'm all for Trump taking out enemies of the West. Maduro, the Iranian regime. But if he falls out with his own allies and leaves America isolated, that would be a very bad place to be. So I'm worried about it. I'm concerned about it. I've always been a supporter of the president since way before he got elected first time. But I will be having some words with the American administration in Davos on Wednesday.
Some EU countries are taking a stronger line. They say the EU won't be blackmailed by America and they are considering a trade war, ramping up tariffs on the US in retaliation. Look, the problem for Britain and the EU is this. The White House knows that Sir Keir Starmer is the most unpopular Prime Minister in British history. He's a weak man, he's tanking the British economy, his U-turns alone so far have cost us more than £8 billion. And of course, when Sir Keir Starmer said this today...
I talk regularly to President Trump, and my team is in daily contact with all the key figures in his administration. These relationships matter. They deliver concrete outcomes in the national interest.
Most Brits don't believe him when he talks about acting in Britain's national interest. There is a perception that he's on the side of Britain's enemies. He's running this country into the ground, unemployment's up. He's tried to use today as well as some kind of party political broadcast.
That's why we've taken action to reduce energy bills, to freeze rail fares and prescription charges. But tackling the cost of living today also means engagement beyond our borders. It requires shaping the world around us, not retreating from it.
Yeah, I mean, that was rubbish anyway. Bills are up massively, and he raised rail fares and then froze them. I mean, the Americans know he's despised. European countries have cut back massively on defence. Again, they're weak. European countries haven't bothered to protect their own borders for decades. Mass immigration and mass illegal immigration have been disastrous, made us all poorer and less safe. Europe, especially the UK, has allowed China to infiltrate it and been very slow to react to Russian aggression. Germany especially put themselves in a huge position of weakness with the reliance on Russian oil and gas, which, of course, you might remember President Trump warned about and they laughed at him for. Now, look, realistically, we are not in a position to massively damage America's economy. We also can't really compete with them militarily, can we? And the public is actually pretty split about whether or not they even want us to get the military involved in this. So I can show you some stats on this now. I mean, you've got 25% strongly supporting sending in the military to deter Trump, 21% don't know, 16% strongly oppose. So we're a bit all over the place, really. Now, I want to make something really, really clear here, all right? I don't like what Trump is doing over Greenland. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of pinching sovereign territory, and I don't want to be accused of siding with another country over our own. But I do think we now need to ask ourselves some really uncomfortable questions. Is Britain and the West a safer place with America in control of Greenland? And if President Trump really wants it, what on earth is Sir Keir Starmer going to do to stop him?
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We've got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist Benjamin Butterworth, and former Tory party chairman and Reform Party member now, Sir Jake Berry. Carol, your views on what Starmer's said today and how he's acted here in relation to Trump and Greenland?
I never thought the words would come out of my mouth, but I actually think Starmer's absolutely right in saying what Trump is doing. I know. You'll never hear it again, so make the most of it. Yeah, he's being a bully here. You know, what makes him different from Putin here? He wants to march into someone else's country and take it. He's used to taking stuff. That's what he used to do as a businessman. And what you just said there, would the world be a safer place if he had Greenland? He has Greenland. You know, there was a treaty made after the end of World War II where the US wanted to buy Greenland. Greenland said no. So they actually set up a treaty. And at one point during the Cold War, the American military had 17 bases on Greenland. It was them who reduced those bases, nobody else. They have one military base there now. So they could ramp up those bases any time they want. They don't have to take Greenland. This is a minerals grab. That's all it's about. It's about taking the minerals. And I hate the fact that he's trying to bully Europe. He's using the US's raw power to bully Europe. And that's not right and it's not fair.
I hear that, don't get me wrong. I think for me, Sir Jake, the problem with this is that over the last couple of decades, a lot of European countries have deliberately hollowed out their own militaries. They've got obsessed with a load of kind of wokey left nonsense. They've not bothered about borders. They've put themselves in a position where they can be bullied by the president of the free world. Yeah. And now here we are.
Well, it's an extraordinary situation. I actually want to link a couple of the stories you've been talking about on the show tonight. So if you think about those you spoke about earlier, those U-turns, which have cost nearly $9 billion, actually, when you include the farming U-turn and other recent U-turns. You know, if we'd invested that in our military, we'd be in such a strong or much stronger position. The fact is that successive governments, Conservative and Labour, since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War, have failed to invest properly in our military. Our armed forces are completely denuded. We are struggling to fulfil a NATO commitment in Estonia, where we have to provide 1,000 troops, and we've been unable so far to fulfil that commitment. So Britain is very, very weak relatively to its position just 30 years ago. And that has enabled President Trump to look at NATO and say, look, you have failed to invest in NATO, and the price for that, the price for my continued security guarantee is that I need Greenland. It's the wrong thing to do, and I know everyone opposes it quite correctly, and these tariffs are unspeakably bad against Britain that President Trump has brought forward. But to some extent, it is a symptom of our failure to invest on our own armed forces, which politicians should hang their head in shame about.
I actually think this situation is perfect for Sir Keir Starmer, because it allows him now to talk about anything but what's going on in Britain. It allows him to take the shine away from, all of the catastrophic stuff, whether it's the U-turns, whether it's illegal immigration, whether it's your energy bills, whether it's whatever it is. The fact that house building is remarkably somehow down under this Labour government, despite the build, baby, build thing that was going on at their party conference. The complete and utter cluster that is their cabinet. Everything. As the focus is off that now, and it's on Greenland, isn't it? And I think it's working out quite well for the Prime Minister.
I mean, on the point of shifted focus, it does frustrate me that Donald Trump has picked this fight at a time of possible historic shift in Iran and against the Islamic regime. I really wish that would be his focus, because there's such an opportunity. But I do think it absolutely is bullying behaviour, because what you're seeing him do is that he thinks weaker targets, i.e. friends, NATO allies, he can bully them into taking this territory. On the day that he announced he could put military presence in Greenland to seize it, he appoints Vladimir Putin to the peace board in Gaza. Now, I don't think that's how the US president should be behaving if he's trying to stop Russia and our enemies. And what is problematic is that Greenland has an agreement that says the US can have as many bases as it requires on Greenland. I dare say that had he gone about this diplomatically, they would have gladly helped. And let's just not be naive. Well, Venezuela is far more justified. But in both Venezuela and Greenland, there is huge amounts of untapped natural resources. Greenland is thought to have a lot of oil and gas that's not been drilled. And it's going to become more accessible with melting ice caps. I think that's got a lot to do with it. My suggestion is that it's right to say there's not enough money spent on Europe and the West defence. So why not make a deal in which you tap that resource and use a significant chunk of it to fund our defence?
Surely that should be up to the people of Greenland. Where Trump is
I reckon they would go with
is that Denmark's claim to Greenland is pretty weak, actually. And in fact, the people who've never been given a say, so it's illegally, in my view, annexed to Denmark in the 1950s, the people who've never been given a say are the people of Greenland. And they have polling shows that consistently they would vote for independence of Denmark. That's not the same thing as saying America should have it. So, actually our claim to Virginia and the Americas is stronger than Denmark's claim to Greenland. But, it does also link back. One thing is really rich from our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is to stand up and say the people of Greenland should have a right to self-determination. He's right. But in the same week as they have multiple votes giving away the Chagos Islands without giving the Chagossians a right to self-determination.
That's the bit, Carol, that's really
absolute hypocrisy.
Really wound me up from what Sir Keir Starmer has said there, which is about the temerity of the guys come out and say, I will always act in Britain's national interest. I actually can't think of a single time he has acted in Britain's
No, he hasn't. And, the thing is, 27 EU member states met over the weekend to discuss this. The bottom line is there's sod all they can do. There's sod all that they will do, because this guy protects us all. As we just said before, this is our own fault. And it's, Nigel Farage today described what Trump is doing as a hostile act. You've got one NATO ally turning on other NATO allies. It's catastrophic. It's so bad. But Europe is powerless to do anything about it, and that's the problem. They can't stop him.
I mean, even people like Giorgia Meloni, the Italian leader who is of his politics as well as friendly, has condemned this. Now, I just suspect that these tariffs would come in on the 1st of February. If you look at his history, this is a harsh negotiating tactic, so let's hope that that's what it turns out to be. But I just think the only people rubbing their hands at this will be Putin and will be China at the moment.
Why? Can you explain that? Because Because apart from the obvious thing, which is that, OK, NATO would be split and then some people in Europe think that, you know, I mean, they always
No, it's
hated
to do with
Trump
the
anyway.
UN. It's to do with the UN. So for the first time in the history of the United Nations, 3 of the 5 permanent Security Council members, which is China, Russia, America, Britain and France, 3 of them are either actively involved in territorial expansion in the case of Russia or seriously contemplating it, well, actually arguably in the case of Russia and America if you include Venezuela, and China, which is allegedly seriously contemplating an invasion of Taiwan. That, because they all have a veto and they're all behaving in the same way, has locked the UN Security Council, so it can't take action anywhere in the world because they all want to expand their territory, and made that organisation completely irrelevant. When the UN falls away, the only hope we have as a nation in terms of our own safety and security is the strength of NATO. And what makes this situation so dangerous is that President Trump is undermining Article 5 of NATO, which is the one which says an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. If America invades Greenland, what is America going to do? Declare war on itself? I mean, this is so dangerous. This could destroy NATO at a time where there is no protection from the UN.
Also
and that's what puts us all in danger.
His excuses for wanting to take... keeps on saying that there are Russian and Chinese ships around Greenland. There aren't. All the experts have said there just aren't any there. It's just nonsense.
Well,
he's just making it up.
Well, I mean, I was listening to a journalist called Hadley Gamble on Breakfast on this channel at the weekend, and she's interviewed Vladimir Putin. She spent 4.5 hours with him in 2021. And she said that he was talking about some, I think it was missiles that the president had acquired. And she said, "Oh, can I go and visit these?" And he said to her, "Well, no, because they're in submarines in the Arctic." And so, you know, that is a fascinating insight into the fact that,
apparently not,
dare I be the other side, but there is a point at the heart of this. It's the manner of going about it that's wrong.
If he wants it as a base, why not Alaska? It's much nearer than Greenland is to Russia. Why not Alaska? And what will Trump take next that he wants? This is the thing. Is it going to be Mexico? He's taken Venezuela. He wants Greenland. What next? He can't be allowed to do this. As I say, as a businessman, he took anything he wanted, and he's doing exactly the same.
I just think for me, at the heart of this here is a kind of a sorry tale, really, about how our European leaders, despite all the obvious warnings and have allowed us to get into a situation, and then we now have to trust that Keir Starmer is going to be the strong man to act in national interest when his government is actively considering prosecuting military veterans as we speak. Like, I mean, come on, you know.
We're almost past peak Trump, though, because after the midterms in November, a lot of his power within his own country will seep away from him. So he's an old man in a hurry, and that makes him dangerous.
OK. All right. Well, look, be keen to get viewers' and listeners' views on all of this. But, well, let's see what tomorrow brings when it comes to Greenland, I suppose. Anyway,